Okay, this is Unit 1, the figured bass exercise. It's kind of like what we were dealing with before in that we were dealing with some Roman numerals in the previous exercise, Roman numerals and figures. This is going to be similar in that we'll have a bass line to work from. We'll create an upper voice in counterpoint with it. Then we'll fill in the inner parts. Put your emphasis on those outer parts and make sure they're really strong before you do anything else. Now, a couple things about figures that we probably need to review. This symbol is just a sharp all by itself. Here's one here as well. You have to know that that sharp means raise the third, or put a sharp on the third above the bass. Figures are intervals above the bass, and this happens to refer to the third. Let's see, there's another symbol here that we've talked about. If you put a slash through it, it's the same as saying raise it. It doesn't say what kind of accidental you'll need to do it, but whatever the key signature gives you, whether it be a double sharp that you need, a sharp, a natural, whatever it takes to raise that note from what the signature gives, you do that. Raise it by that half step. Dashes mean I'm talking about one voice. So if this 8-7 is realized in a literal way, as we'll do this. We'll say I need an octave above the bass, and that voice will move and provide us with the seventh. It's really a voice leading kind of thing. It says keep this motion in one part. So in some voice, we're going to need F sharp to E. All right, let's think now. If we're ending on B, looks like we're starting with a dominant. We're dealing with B minor. And for some of these, we might want to actually say, okay, what is the chord? If we're more comfortable thinking that way. But do remember that you can work from the figure and the bass to say, okay, I know what that means. I need a 6, and implied there is a 3. So I need a third above the bass and a 6 above the bass. See, I can get the chord direct, if I like, from the figures. Oh, I need a B, a D, and an F sharp. Okay, so that's a 1 chord. But, I don't really even have to go here. In fact, I'd encourage you to think like this. If you've got a D in the bass, and you didn't have anything underneath it, if this weren't figured bass, it's just a counterpoint exercise, then you would have a lot of possibilities. You could double the bass note, you could do a third above, you could do a fifth, a sixth. You've got all these notes as possibilities because they're the consonant notes. When you're dealing with first species counterpoint, you just have consonants as available to you. What this symbol does is it says, okay, good, you could use a sixth. You could use a third. You could go an octave up above, or even a unison. Those are all possible, but see what's not possible? The fifth is no longer going to be part of this chord. As soon as you stipulate the chord and say, I want a 6-3 chord on this bass note, you've eliminated one possibility. All these other notes, though, are possible. And then it becomes a connect the dots kind of exercise. It becomes you focusing on the shape and style of your melody instead of worrying about, okay, well, what kind of chord do I want to apply here? That decision has been made for you. The chord has been decided. Same thing here. I'll think about it in terms of intervals above the bass. This is a shorthand for 5, 3. Okay, so F sharp, that'd be to double the bass, that's possible. Sharp's good, I don't need to write that. F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, those are all fine. Now see what I can't do. 6 we've used, but not here. We can't. It stipulates 5 and 3 above the bass, but not the 6, so I have to eliminate that from contention here. And then, of course, I can do those notes in other octaves too, but I'm going to put them all right in here. All right, so and then I should mention this one as well. That's a second. Remember the full label would be 6-4-2. So that's a 4-2 chord. You'll have the same notes again. F sharp is the second. The fourth above the bass is there. And this little line here says that sharp, keep it, and make that your fourth. Okay, so it's really the same, it's going to be the same chord, and you've just got some motion in the bass. Once you've psyched out what your possible notes are, you can say, all right, now how can I make a melody out of this? Maybe I would like the leading tone to go here. That would be nice. I could keep it steady and just stay, but I can have motion too. There's some motion. It's not a resolution so much as just a possibility for rising there. Let's go a little further and see what we might like. If you think in terms of chords, you can see what's going on here. You're getting to a root position 1 chord. This nothing here means that 5 and 3 are assumed up above. Well, that's B, D, F sharp. That's a tonic. So I'm moving from a dominant here. Let's see why that's true. 3, 4, and 6. 3, 4. I'm counting it from the bass. 3, 4, and then 6 will get me up here to an A. Okay, so you can see the root if you want to translate this into Roman numerals. The root's got to be here. F sharp, and then this actually, the slash means raise it. It would be A, given our signature. This says raise it, so I did that. Put a sharp on there. F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, E. That's our dominant. 5, 4, 3. Okay, so now we've got a sense of how to read these. Let's look again at our possibilities here. Getting back to a B minor chord. And we've got all the notes of the dominant up above here that are possible for us. All right, so let's start our melody. I'll just pick something here. How about that leading tone? I kind of like that idea. Okay, so I'll go to there. And then I'll do this. I'm picking a note out of this dominant here. I'm thinking in the key. Here's my B, my tonic, and I'm taking scale degree 4 to 3. And I know scale degree 4 is in this chord. I also know that scale degree 4 is right here, and that's a third from the bass. I like that. Thirds and 6 are great, so I'll choose that. Now I always like to go to the end, so I know where I'm aiming for. Let's do that. Let's go right to the end, where we'll need our 5-1. This is scale degree 5 going to 1 in the bass. And this symbol we've talked about, this symbol we have as well, means we're going to have a third above the bass and raise it. That gives us the leading tone. And assumed in here is the 5. So we end up with basically a dominant, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp. That's going to bring in the 7th. We'll end up with a dominant 7th before we resolve. So let's get those notes up there. Remember the principles we've already talked about. We want to move by step into the last note. So we might go to a B and create perfect octave, a PAC. I'm going to go ahead and pick that. If I do that, I'm going to need a leading tone here or a scale degree 2 cadence. Okay, we've done a leading tone. Let's try scale degree 2, see how that works. Okay, now we've got to connect the dots. Here's our opening few chords, 4 notes, and our ending. We've got some elevation here, so we've got already the potential for a climactic moment here, and we could come away from it, come down from it. Let's see how that works. Okay, could I, against this scale degree 7 to 1, could I go like this? I could. I'll get a pretty prominent octave here, mid-phrase. What if I instead took my scale degree 2 up to 3? Would that be nice? a lot of parallel motion in a row, but maybe I can get away from it here. See how many thirds I've got in a row? Now make sure these things really fit the chord. I know they do, but just to check. Here I've got a third above the bass, and hey, yeah, that'll work because 6/5 is a shorthand for 6/5 That'll fit. Here, implied, is 5 and 3. And so yes, my third above the bass will fit. That works. All right, now here, I've got 6 implying a 3. So I can use either of those intervals, or double the bass, an octave higher, say. And that would be kind of crazy to leap way up there, but let's know that it's possible anyways. I could go to a B, which would be another third in a row, if I like that. There's another possibility though, and that's the 6th above the bass. E up there is possible. And that'll give us some variety. Let's see what that would do then for our melody. Oh, we're revisiting our peak note here. What if I moved on though and made this a new and higher note? Would that work? Well, here's a 6/3 chord. I'm creating D up to F sharp, a third. That fits. See how I've kind of abandoned Roman numeral thinking here, and I'm just thinking in terms of the intervals that I've got? It works well. It works fast that way. Okay, I like that. And if I do that, I could do a new cadence here. I'm going to revise my goal and say instead of going to the PAC, I'll go up here, create a third above the bass. Remember this motion? 8 to 7. 8 is F sharp. And then the 7th above the bass is this E here. So there's my 8/7 motion that it tells me to use somewhere, and I can use that up in my highest voice. Okay. Now, I'm going to be doing this kind of rhythm, so I could have used a dotted rhythm there too. No, I've changed the climax. It's not here. It's here. Let's see how we like that. Well, that's got a nice shape to it. I like it. Let's see what it sounds like with the bass in there. That counterpoint a lot. We didn't use too many thirds or sixths, all in parallel in a row. There are 4. You see what we did here too. There's a 6th. This is a passing tone, really. You could think of it as a 5 changing to a 5/4/2. But basically, it's just this chord moving to that chord. Same thing here. This is basically a dominant moving to a tonic, and that's some passing motion going on the top. So this is moving a little bit beyond first species, but you can still see the first species framework going on underneath it. So third to 6, a series of parallel thirds, lots of 6 and thirds in the middle, which is nice. And then we leave it imperfect here too, so we end up now with an IAC at the end. Notice how eventually you can kind of wean yourself off of the Roman numerals, and we're able to think more in terms of intervals above the bass, which is what the figures tell us.